You never know the battles that people are silently fighting, but y'all are gonna know about mine. I'm not fighting anything silently. I'm fighting it at full volume, and everyone's gonna know how pissed about it I am.
Double the stellar skateboard. Hey,
That's
fun
right.
fans, so we enjoy. It's Exorcist time. What an excellent day for an exorcism, Eric. We've got
Mm.
the Exorcist in the main event today. We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman. Eric, how are
Hello,
you feeling?
everybody.
How you feeling?
Well, I'm not laying in bed, so that's better. I'm COVID free. My back's not still 100%, but it's certainly better.
Were you able to go
Better
to
is
a?
good.
Were you able to go to a doctor? Did he say you need a backiotomy?
No, I went to a chiropractor. Words are fun. And got like a good, like, not like a quickie thing, like a full sort of thing, and he helped a lot. I do want to see a doctor next week to be sure because of my history of back issues. Um,
I wish you
but
did go to a cryopractor and it was John Cryer and he did cryogenics. And
yeah,
then
I thought it would be Demolition Man.
oh man, well, honestly, your dream is to wake up and there's nothing but Taco Bell.
Because you
So,
need a maniac to catch a maniac. Yeah.
yeah, it turns out The Exorcist is a good ass movie. I haven't
Hey,
seen The Exorcist since film school, since a horror movie class.
what?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, I've seen it, but yeah, it's been a while.
You didn't
And
go. You didn't see the re-release, the version
no,
you've never seen.
you
Why
mean
didn't you? Why,
not
why,
this theatrical version? You mean the different version, like the
the director
director's
it's,
cut?
it's retitled the director's cut now, but
No.
when everything got, well, not everything, but when all these big movies got re-releases after Star Wars Special Edition was huge. I mean, we went as in a big group of people you hung out with, so I don't know what you were doing that night, Matt, but we went to see The Exorcist at the
I was
Chinese thing.
performing my own exorcism, actually.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're talking about that in the main event today, and then next week, obviously, Exorcist 2, The Heretic, which I've never seen and heard isn't good, but we'll see. I have a question for you. I mean, I guess we could save it for now, but let's do it now, especially since we're about to talk about William Friedkin up top,
Yeah.
which is to say, does anything within the Exorcist films that have happened so far, notwithstanding the David Gordon Green film that's coming out in a few months,
Yeah.
has anything contradicted anything that's happened? Because I feel like Exorcist 2 may exist in its own sequel world, whereas Exorcist 3 also exists in its own sequel world because they're different characters, right?
Yeah. Well, the answer is yes, because they reshot the fourth one, the prequel. So there's two contradictory versions of what happened to young Marin.
So you're saying that in one of the versions of the prequel, it contradicts certain things from the rest of the franchise?
Well, I'm saying that those two movies.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, there's
Yeah.
been nothing where we, after doing something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Halloween, where
Yeah.
timelines. I'm saying that this could technically all be one timeline.
Right. Except for the TV show, yes. And I think you always give a TV show, a different sort of allotment than. So I think you're right in that the first three movies for sure. I don't say for sure, but we'll find out as we watch them. But I don't think there's anything in the second and third that can't coexist.
Right.
And then whichever version you choose to go with of the prequel.
I'm still saying that you should watch one and I watch the other, and we just confirm this. And then the new movie, we have no idea at this point what it may confirm or deny. So we'll see. Except that it could just still exist within the same timeline because it's got Ellen Burstyn in it, who's fucking 90, by the way.
90. If you watch the trailer, you're like, you know what? Doing pretty good for 90.
Doing pretty good. I read very briefly a couple months ago that they shot all of her shit like quickly because of her age and because of COVID and all that stuff. Anyway, so yeah, we're leading up to Exorcist Believer, and if that does well, there'll be an Exorcist Deceiver because it's supposed to be another trilogy a la David Gordon Green. So we'll see if we can get there. We'll see because the Exorcist,
a la his Halloween movies, not his existence. He himself is not a trilogy as far as I know.
I don't know. He could be a trilogy. He's got 3 names that he goes by.
True.
I'll say this, that I feel like it's a little bit more of an uphill climb with Exorcist because it's just not as accessible as a slasher movie. It just, despite the fact that I think the first movie Jaws 2, adjusted for inflation, made like $2 billion or something.
It was massive. It was a massive.
I'm saying, like, if you make $420 million in 1973, it's pretty much like a way of water territory at this point.
Right.
So, but yeah, let's talk about how we caused the untimely death of William Friedkin, I guess. Yeah, obviously, just sort of this coincidence that happened where he passed away just a few days ago. As we chose to do this franchise, we had our reasons, Friedkin unrelated reasons for doing this franchise because a new movie's coming out. But yeah, and we've been talking about Coppola, obviously, too, and other people from the new Hollywood movement of the 70s, Coppola, Spielberg's even one of them, Lucas, someone like, I guess even Polanski, these people who came up through the 60s and 70s doing movies. Friedkin was a big one. My dad, it's funny because while I was doing a little bit of reading, I know I didn't, you listened to some commentary for this film, so you can go into that later.
Yeah, I listened to the audio commentary, which I listened to like 20 years ago, but I listened to it again.
But like he saw, obviously he read this book by William Peter Blatty and was only written it only came out a couple years before this movie came out. So it was sort of optioned right away and he was into it. Blatty wrote the screenplay, adapted his own book, won an Oscar for that. But then Friedkin loves the theater too. That's the thing. And so he saw Jason Miller performing his award-winning play this championship season. Is that what it's called?
I think
and so. Jason Miller had a huge 73 with this movie, and I think he won a Tony or something also for his play. But William Friedkin went and saw a play that my dad did, and then messaged or phoned or contacted my dad somehow afterwards and wanted to talk to him about the play. So my dad went and had a meeting with William Friedkin because he just wanted to talk about the play he'd seen. So anyway, that's my 6 degrees of separation of William Friedkin's story.
Yeah. Obviously, crazy impact on, cinema history just for this movie alone, but also the fact that he'd done The French Connection 2 years before. Which
actually did win Best Picture.
So the fact that he was there, like the people you're mentioning, like this sort of rise of the auteur that was really happening in the 70s, was a big part of that. He's an interesting one because he didn't direct that many movies, and also because he never stuck to a specific genre. And it's funny because I was reading a lot about him, on Monday when he passed away. And the thing about Friedkin is he's, his persona is lovable asshole, which is to say there's a lot of very funny interviews with him because he was a no bullshit guy, which also meant he just kind of seemed like a dick, but it's in a funny way, and then he gives good sound bites. So, when he's like cursing out Al Pacino, and I can't remember what the crazy
he says, I don't give a flying fuck in a donut hole what Al Pacino thinks.
Yeah.
There was also where he was being interviewed by the guy, I think the guy who directed Drive, who called his own film a masterpiece. And anyway, he was just giving this guy the shit, a lot of shit for being sort of an arrogant prick. But then it also, that behavior, as one could track, if you'd sort of like the pipeline to also being an alarmingly, I'm not going to say toxic or abusive, just an alarmingly abrasive, unpredictable, maybe volatile person during production and all.
Oh no, absolutely.
And so, like,
someone who under today's lens would get called out if he was making The Exorcist today,
right,
and all the stories from that set came out. It would be like, why are we allowing this? And again, we don't ever, whenever we talk about this, exactly, we have like the perfect answer. It's more of just like, hey, times change, feelings change. But it is just one of those things where it's like, because I'm not saying like it was all worth it because the movie's great. It's just a funny thing where it's like there once was a time where people didn't care about that at all, and then they kind of cared, and now they care a lot. And it goes back and forth, how much you think, like, of course, like people should be, kind to each other when they're working versus like, what is just like being intense and in the moment. The stories about The Exorcist specifically get pretty gnarly.
Okay, so I'm constantly in this gray area where it's like you don't want people to be nightmares, you don't want people to be abusive or have like unstable, unpredictable working conditions on set. Obviously, this isn't even talking about like sexual abuse or sexual predatory.
No.
This is just being a quote unquote creative genius who is absolutely a
nightmare person,
right? A nightmare person to get along with. And I know I've talked off podcast, we probably mentioned it on podcast too, but like this gray area of like, man, sometimes the best art comes from the worst people. And we're talking about musicians too. We're talking about anyone who does anything in TV or movies, actors. So when Secession came around and there was this whole thing between Brian Cox and Jeremy Strong about like fuck method acting. Jeremy Strong is so method. And you and I being children of actors ourselves, acting is uncomfortable. It's traumatic. It is an absolute assault on your being to learn how to act and to go to acting school and Barry even kind of brought this up a little bit with it's like the way that the acting class changed throughout the course of Barry to like what Gene Cousineau is doing to like
Barry the TV show, not Barry a person.
no, but like what the students didn't accept later on.
Yes.
When she's trying to teach the class and they're like, oh, we can't. But I am a proponent of method acting as far as like, I think it works. The Stanislavski method is like some of our greatest performers have used this and we hail them as such, right? Like, and so we can't say like Daniel Day-Lewis, that hack. Daniel Day-Lewis, though, by the way, has to get up every time he accepts an award, which is a lot, and thank his saint of a wife every single time for putting up with his
personality,
monstrous behavior. Sorry, I was a New York City like a gang leader for 3 years and didn't come out of character once.
And smelled like a guy from the late 1800s.
It's like having a live tiger on the set at all times. So, but I lost the plot here. But my point is that like The Exorcist is, as we head into this new movie, I'm very curious, not what it's about, not what the performances are going to be, what's going to happen, if it's going to shake the earth like this movie did. Like, are they out
it can't, that it can't and it won't.
But I mean, like, there is a world where it could.
Sure.
There is a world where a movie could really, like, what is boundary pushing today? And can we get there? Is it possible? My question is, can we get to that certain point without someone being a nightmare person, as you put it? Like,
right.
Actually get there without somebody absolutely bending everyone's will to his own and like this rabid creative vision. But anyway, William Friedkin, and I think similar to Coppola. Now, Coppola gets pigeonholed because of the Godfather films as a mob guy.
Yeah,
he's not. Scorsese's the mob guy. Scorsese's the organized crime guy. The Irish mob, the Italian mob. It doesn't matter.
Right. It's just that Coppola's most famous work was about the mob.
Right. So it's kind of like Coppola. If you look at we just did The Outsiders. We're talking about like his credits too. It's just as sort of scattered genre-wise,
eclectic.
As Friedman, right.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I saw a couple people tweet who from like horror sites, again, put, a lot of like love and admiration for Friedkin and his work, and of course The Exorcist. And I remember I saw a couple people being like, kind of being like, and we put up with his bullshit where he was like, The Exorcist isn't the horror movie, because he would pull that sometimes, and stuff like that, where it's like, he was.
Well, there's a point too where he was probably just being an asshole and being a contrarian because that's how he's used to communicating.
Right.
But like the reports where he would just fire people randomly on the set, or he'd shoot a load, I guess a gun with a non-live round in it, but like just startle people on the set, or just
normal shit.
Lie to them about certain things, like the pea soup is going to hit your chest, not your face, and then they aim right at his face,
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, Friedkin, he didn't do much going through. It was really the 60s and 70s, and that was his heyday. Hits. Yeah, his hits were French Connection and this movie. Everything else kind of didn't make money.
Yeah. And there'd be moments, and there's some good stuff in there. Have you ever seen Bug, Matt?
No, that was.
I think
from
you might
aughts,
like,
right?
I think you might like Bug, which with Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon. It's
is that the one where she thinks, or one of them thinks they're turning into a bug?
Well, that there's like bugs around them and shit happening. Yeah.
And then I heard Killer Joe's kind of weird too.
Yes. Oh, same writer for both those. Those were his last two movies, and they share the Same writer. I haven't seen Killer Joe, but I've seen Bug. You should check it out. So I mean, he definitely was. He had other good work, but as far as like, you know, when he made this huge, you know, impact, you know, then 1971, 1973, these two movies, both giant hits, critically acclaimed, you know, just in, you know, every respect you could be. It's hard to top that. I am bummed. About a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, the New Beverly showed Sorcerer, which is like, you know, was like rarely screened, and it was a big deal that they were showing it. I've never seen that movie. People rave about that movie, and I couldn't go.
Brent went. Yeah, Brent went and saw it.
So I missed that, but I am guessing, as always happens when a great filmmaker passes away in Los Angeles, which is all the revival theaters are going to be showing all his stuff. So I feel like I might get another chance to see
Blue
Sorcerer.
Chips. I've never seen Sorcerer, but I did see the other movie that is based on the book, but the French version called The Wages of Fear with Yves Montand.
Oh, interesting.
So I saw that in high school because they were playing in New York, and Jay took me to it. But yeah. And as far as I know, The Sorcerer is like a remake of the movie, not just an adaptation of the book. But anyway, yeah, I'd be interested to see an American adaptation of that. French Connection for me, I understand its importance and recognize its relevance, but it kind of bored me. But anyway,
I like it, but I didn't, and I think I like it a little more than you. But I
think it's of the era. It's very much a cop movie of the era that like is kind of the way young people look at Pulp Fiction now, and they don't like it because they don't know what it's about or what the purpose is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, The Exorcist, you know, I think even, you know, we might have even mentioned this when I was watching the extras on the Blu-ray the other night. It's like, you know, he knew it was going to be the lead of when he died, and that's, I say deservedly so, because it's a masterpiece, and it's completely held up. And obviously, you know, we're talking about it because there's a new movie coming, but even if there wasn't a new movie coming, it's just one of those classics. So yeah, I
feel like we should just do the movie now at this point.
Well, let's table that for now.
All right, let's talk about
William
what
Friedkin
is this
and all your complicatedness.
Personal front, really quickly. It's super hot here. I hate it. It's like 116 heat index. It's awful. Every day I'm on fire. Secondly, went to the secret screening at Alamo this month, and it was actually Westworld. So it wasn't like a niche, weird cult movie.
No,
it was actually kind of a hit movie.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And
it was a franchise starter, Matt.
It is because there was Future World, and then like Westworld again.
Beyond Westworld, the TV show, not the one, not the HBO show. And then
I think Yul Brynner was in that too, right? Wasn't he?
He was. I don't think he was in the Beyond Westworld. He did a cameo in Future World. Like a dream sequence cameo.
Did you see Future World?
I know. I keep meaning to. I need to get my copy of my Westworld Blu-ray back from Terry Schwartz, who I lent it to many years ago.
Oh man, good luck. And
she has it.
Last week I went to a concert, and the band didn't go on until 11 p.m. Eric.
11 what the hell?
Exactly.
What is going on?
What is this world? It's too hot. It's too late. It's not meant for Mats. Okay.
You haven't been in LA where every night was the religious spectacle of Taylor Swift without me even going. Just, you know, it was like all of Los Angeles.
No, but they were Taylor was here like a month ago at least, so we had that for one night at AT&T.
This was like eight or nine nights she did here, and
maybe it was two. Maybe it was two here. But yeah, Jesus, 9.
It was a lot going on.
At least she changes shit up, as far as I know. It always baffles me when bands play. It doesn't baffle me that they play the same city or in the same venue multiple nights in a row. So when they don't change the set list,
but it's the exact same. Yeah.
When you're a huge fan, it doesn't matter. But like, if you're going to like 2 or 3 of them, I don't know. It's weird to me that they don't switch one song.
Everyone should just be like Cake and wing it and just do whatever you want.
But you can't yell out the distance, or they actually hit you with cake.
That's right. It's like you can't do that on a television scenario.
Okay, so what is this thing? All I read that Gal Gadot said that she was developing a Wonder Woman 3 movie with DC Studios, but why do you put in our notes that she's being weird? What's happening here?
I said the weirdness with Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman because then there's like Variety and other reports saying there's no development on a new Wonder Woman movie with James Gunn and Peter Safran. And
she's crazy.
I don't know if she's crazy. As much as, who the fuck knows at this point as far as like what conversations they had. It still might be literally up in the air. It's still, or there might be like, she could be appearing in something else first. Who the fuck knows? Of course, the fact that the Flash bombed so hard means it's, this whole year is going to be such a like test of, and so far it's failing test of, can they continue with any of this? Up through up through the sequel to the movie that made $1 billion. That was their biggest hit with Aquaman. And so it's making it less and less likely they, continue with any of these elements. But I think it's probably a we'll see thing. It is weird that she was like, I quote, like she was like, kind of saying these things like they told me in a very strong way, going by these, quotes that she had. But it still seems like there could still be a little bit of a weird gray area. But just so DC, it's also wacky.
She's not crazy, let's say that. But can we agree that she lives in her own world? She did make all those celebrities say imagine.
Yes.
Right? So can we just agree that she's in her own biodome of delusion's a strong word, but
it is
full dreaming. Yeah.
Possible.
Right.
And
man, what's up? Yeah, go ahead.
It's going to be such a long wait till, and of course the strike will probably make it a longer wait till we actually get Superman Legacy, and it will, as we've talked about, the crazy Snyder bro people are never going to give it a shot, and they will, no matter, they've sight unseen hate the movie, and sight unseen that the new Superman can't be as good as Henry Cavill. We know that, but for the non-crazies who are going to actually give it a shot, it's like, I'll be so grateful when that movie is out and we can actually start to be like, okay, we're actually, here's new stuff. Here's the stuff they're making. Because I saw even some people I respect were kind of being like, it seems like, has anything that the new DC has said stayed the same? And I'm like, well, the new DC has just been saying, here's my lineup, and it's coming in a couple years.
Yeah.
So it's like,
we haven't seen the new DC yet.
Right.
Are they counting? These people are counting anything that's come after Gunn taking the job
like
as new DC?
Yeah, that's what it felt like. It felt like that they might have been counting the stuff that I know he gives notes on even the stuff coming out this year, but he didn't have anything to do with the going into production.
It's crazy. What's crazy? That's a huge hit for the new DC. Suits. That's everyone watching Suits on Netflix. That came out after James Gunn got hired too. So there you go.
I was trying to. I know that Suits is a huge hit on Netflix, but I was like, "What's the DC connection?"
No, just anything that's happening now.
Anything that's happening, pop culture.
Anything that happens.
Yeah, has because you're mentioning that. That is like a funny. As everyone keeps saying, when this keeps happening with like Suits, the biggest hit on Netflix right now, Suits, and how people will seek out these like bread and butter
people want television shows, not
but that Netflix isn't making those, and even if they are, their version is 3 seasons and 30 episodes, not 100+ episodes like Suits.
Right.
So it's just this very strange thing where it's like they need shows that not even USA are making. Like that's the problem. It's like USA stopped making USA
not anymore.
shows.
So the thing is that like with the golden era of TV and with the shortening of seasons and with the extreme serialization of shows and stuff like that, you got some really excellent, amazing stuff. But what you lost was what TV was for decades, which was, I like these characters, they comfort me, I like spending time with them, even if it's not game-changing television, and I just want to be there to see Magnum PI in his shirt in his car, and I just want to see the A-team throw grenades and no one dies.
Right.
I just like
hang out at Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah, I like returning every week, and these people are there, and they have a certain dynamic, and it's nothing really changes. Suits is more than that. I know it wasn't just like everyone wearing, even though from any picture of that show you ever think it's all they do is sit in the same office and wearing the same suits. Like the title is not a lie. They are wearing suits constantly, but yeah. And then probably people start watching and being like, oh shit, Meghan Markle's in this. So yeah.
Well, sure, certainly. But it also goes to show you, no matter what, the Netflix being like, what Netflix is and being there first and so established, because Suits has been on Peacock for a while and remains on Peacock. It's just that NBC Universal decided to make it non-exclusive, and so Netflix bought it as well.
Mhm.
So it's just like, but no, it wasn't all over TikTok, you know, it wasn't like taken over when it was on Peacock. Although the funny thing, I guess, is that only Peacock has the final season 9, the final season. Netflix didn't get season 9.
They're gonna have to get, people are gonna think it. I don't know if 8 ends on a cliffhanger or not.
Right.
People are gonna be pissed, and then they're like, "Now what are you gonna do? You have to come to the cock."
Right. That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
Man, have you started? It's 2 episodes up. Have you started the new season of Only Murders in the Building?
Yeah, I've actually watched all but the last 2 because I watched
so you watched the screeners.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was gonna say the first episode had a very funny, or was it the second episode had a very funny Paramount Plus joke. Anyway,
it did. It did indeed.
All right, let's move on. Let's actually get to our good things to enjoy this
Yes,
week.
don't skip it.
Which is just sort of
and a long for Matt. It is such a long-awaited good thing to enjoy.
It is. I'll explain soon because we have one write-in. Brandon has written in. He writes, "Greetings, legends," which all right, Brandon.
I'll take it.
I'll take it
Thank
too.
you.
We'll both take it. As you were listing Roy Scheider films last week, I was surprised you didn't mention the Bob Fosse masterpiece, All That Jazz. What a film! That's the message. So here's the thing, Eric.
Did we mention Sorcerer? I know we mentioned French Connection.
We may not have mentioned even Sorcerer, but
okay.
I'll say this. You give me shit for listing things, and look what happens when we leave things off a list.
That's true.
And they're like, well, you forgot the thing. That's why I have to list every actor every time, or else they're going to be like, you forgot Leslie Odom Jr. in the new Exorcist. You know, like if I don't say everyone's name.
Gotta say him.
Didn't say All That Jazz. All That Jizz. That's a Star Wars version of it. Anyway.
Oh yes, I get you. The music. Oh, by the way,
I hope people listening get it, but they won't. Well, they will. Maybe they will.
I don't know if we said it. I don't think you said it earlier, and I don't think we've said it in a while. But hey, if you could rate us on iTunes, guys, if you like what you're hearing.
Yeah, if you are actually listening to us on Apple. Apple Podcasts, which is what it's been referred to as for years. It's kind of like how we're always going to call it Twitter.
We're always going to go, but that's even there's a bit of extra spite involved in that we're never going to change the name of it. So.
But yeah, give us a 5-star Frog Splash rating, which made more sense when we had a wrestling podcast. But yeah, do that. And speaking of wrestling, let's get into our good things to enjoy. I will start because
yes, please, please. Because if something happens and we lose power, I need you to have recommended this.
Maybe I recommended it on Twitter, but a couple weeks ago, before I forgot to do this segment, I started talking about this, and then Eric sent a little text being like, "Hey, I don't think the embargo's up." Now, were we probably safe? Probably, because
but you never know.
It would mean that someone actually who cares from the studio, who cares about embargoes, was listening to this and
cared that you were saying something positive.
Yeah, and actually cared that I was going to say, "Hey, everyone, watch this." And they're like, "How dare you say that 2 days before the embargo's up?" So I had a little spiel about it, and then I edited it so that I recommended something different, which was Talk to Me, which did very well for itself, by the way.
Yeah, and a sequel's been announced.
A sequel's coming. So I know because I interviewed the Twin Brothers directors for Fandom, and they mentioned still wanting to do a horror movie next. I guess they're going to stick with this one story, which it lends itself to that. We don't know what characters will return, if any, but we know that Hand will be back. But
very unusual for a horror movie and an A24 horror movie, no less, that it got a B+ cinema score, which is very good for horror. And we've talked about this before, that opening night audiences for horror movies tend to grade very low. And that it held very well second week, which is also rare for horror and A24. So kudos to Talk to Me.
It was kind of a Barbenheimer to me a couple weeks there.
Yes.
And so anyway, I am recommending Twisted Metal on Peacock, which I just learned today has done very well for itself.
Yes.
Not Suits level. I don't think anything can defeat Suits at this point.
Sure.
But it's done well for itself on Peacock, the place you'll have to go to see Suits season 9. Which I think maybe, I don't know. We'll see. It was expensive. We'll see if it bodes well for a season 2, which it definitely could have. It sets itself up for that. But yeah. I'm recommending Twisted Metal, which is based on a video game franchise with very little story. So most of the story for the show is sort of crafted from scratch and it's given this post-apocalyptic backdrop. And it comes to us from, let me go to the page here, but yeah, it comes to us from Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who wrote Deadpool and Zombieland, and which makes sense because it has a very Zombieland and I guess Deadpool style of humor. And it is the showrunner is Michael Jonathan Smith, who worked as a writer on Cobra Kai, also a show that Eric and I both enjoy. And it blends, and that's where I see the blending. I guess Zombieland does it too, but that's where the blending of like the really crass, silly, absurd humor with drama and heart in a way that Cobra Kai sometimes feels like a miracle, because sometimes some scenes in Cobra Kai are just outright slapstick. And then other times it's like this really, really amazing redemption scene that puts new spins and twists on previous movies that you never would have expected. So,
right.
But yeah, so this Twisted Metal is a very fun, vulgar action series starring Anthony Mackie, Stephanie Beatrice, and then Thomas Hayden Church. And then in a very funny dual role, Samoa Joe, if you're a wrestling fan, and Will Arnett, if you're a fan of laughter.
Sure.
And developments that are arrested, play Sweet Tooth. And as somebody who never played the Twisted Metal games, this was the iconic image from those games. The clown, yes. The ice cream truck, the clown with the fire head, the whole thing. So Samoa Joe's got the body, Will Arnett's got the voice, let's make lots of money. Yes. But it's an interesting thing for me as a Samoa Joe fan, as somebody who's been watching him for a couple decades. When a wrestler gets an acting job, it's kind of predictable what they're going to get, unless there's somebody who can really explode out of the box like a John Cena or The Rock or something like that. Samoa Joe, if he was ever going to be in a movie, he's always probably just going to be the stoic heavy at some point, and not do anything animated, flamboyant, or comedic. Now, we never hear his voice in this, but he is on set acting out his ass off with his body in a lot of these scenes, and obviously speaking the lines on set. And he and Will Arnett collaborated on inflection and how the lines should be delivered so that on set, so everything could match up, right? Because he has to do ADR afterwards to match up everything. But I really, really like this series. I was very worried that I would be the only one. Turns out I wasn't, but I think it has like a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes at this point, which is way better than I thought I was going to get, honestly. I have to tell you. I thought I was going to get like a 20 or 30%. If I was being generous, because this is just, it's very bawdy, it's very out there, it's hyper violent, it's just dick jokes galore, and the cast is great. And basically Anthony Mackie plays sort of a post-apocalyptic courier who gets given a task to drive way further than he usually does. He has to go from California to Chicago, and it's this cross-country sort of trek with a lot of violence and very enjoyable. I recommend Twisted Metal. And I hope there is a season 2 coming.
I second all of that. Trish and I watched it, and we both really dug it. It's really a fun show. Really enjoyable cast. The vibe works. You mentioned this, I know, a little bit, Matt, but it's a fun, weird, like sort of distorted funhouse mirror of The Last of Us debuting the same year. Because they're both post-apocalyptic shows set 20 years after that apocalypse happened. So all the music and pop culture is stuck from 20 years ago.
Right. So again, in line with something like Yellow Jackets, and Beef and and this show, a lot of like late 90s, early aughts music gets its time to shine. As you and I have grown up with a lot of films with not just in the 80s with 80s music, but a lot of movies that harken back to the 80s. But now we've moved up. We've slid up a decade.
Well, we haven't stopped with 80s, but 90s definitely getting its love. By the way, I watched another one of your recommendations recently, Beef, and I fucking loved it. But it was very funny to me that it specifically had an episode that went to credits on Tori Amos's Cornflake Girl, just like Yellow Jackets did in season 2. It's like, not even just that they both use them, but that they're like, this is a great song to play over your closing credits. It is, but
it's the best early 90s song about female genital mutilation you'll ever hear in your life.
That's right. It's got it. You can dance to it.
You can dance to it. Anyway. Another thing I like, Anthony Mackie's really fun. He's always been great in the MCU, but what I really like about him here is he's kind of like a Dorcas he's a little bit like, he's a hero, obviously, but he's also he fucks up a lot. A lot of mistakes are made. He's stupid sometimes. It's fun. I'm sure it was fun for him to also sort of like poke fun at a heroic type character who a little doughier or a little dumber than usual.
Right.
Something like almost like a Woody Harrelson type Zombieland role, you might say. But anyway, Twisted Metal. What is your recommendation? I know yours is still a holdover from last week too.
Yeah, no. So Matt, so Matt was going to talk about this 2 weeks ago, maybe even 3 weeks ago, and then stopped because of the embargo thing. Then it was on the list last week, and then we just fucked up and kept doing. Joy. Which is why I'm a week late recommending Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which is now out in theaters. It's been out in theaters, but I was going to recommend it last week before it hit theaters. And I know it had a good opening, especially in the wake of Barbenheimer, although the Meg was number 2 this week. Barbie is still number 1, but the Meg 2 was number 2. So I think Ninja Turtles was only at like number 4, but still considered a good opening, both because it's actually so competitive right now, and things are, there was kind of like a weak part of this summer where a lot of things were underperforming, and right now things are doing well. And also because this movie miraculously only cost $70 million. They didn't need to spend $200 million to make a good animated movie.
Even with all the actors who are in it, even with the cast too. So yeah.
And so Seth Rogen's name is obviously being used a lot in promotion. I will say though, I didn't realize, I knew he produced it, but I didn't know he co-wrote it. Like, I didn't know he was that, he was really involved in this movie. That he cared, Matt, he cared. And obviously we've had 10 million versions of Ninja Turtles at this point, but this might be the best one. And as much as I love the 1990 movie and I love the original black and white comics, there's something about this version very much indebted to, and I think they've talked about this, like Spider-Verse being a movie that really showed that you didn't have to do like sort of the typical sort of DreamWorks looking animated movie, and you could really start to like stylistically change things up, and mainstream audiences would go for it, and it wouldn't be like a weird niche thing. And so this movie has its own things are like off kilter, like there's there's things that aren't straight lines, like they look like it's like got like a hand, it's, even though it's computer animation, it's got like a hand drawn like kind of feel to it. And a big thing of course is that they actually cast teenagers to voice the Ninja Turtles and really push that as like these are kids, these are like 15-year-old kids, and make that a focus of the movie. And it works very well, very endearing. The kids are great. The only non-stars in a star-packed cast. And that, because Seth Rogen.
One of them I did interview for Walking Dead World Beyond. Nicholas Canto, who was Leonardo. But yeah, he has credits. He has credits. But yeah.
Okay, yeah. But I'm not, he's not a butts and seats.
He's no Chalamet. Yeah.
Anyway, but then that all the writers, so Rogen and Goldberg, but there was also Jeff Rowe and Dan Hernandez and Benji Samit. They all have great comedy backgrounds. It's a legitimately funny comedy. That's like a big thing too, is I laughed a lot watching this movie, both at the jokes being told and visual gags. There's a sheet of paper that April O'Neil was holding at one point that you see a quick glance of, and I laughed so loud at one thing I read on that list, and it made me want to freeze frame it when I can watch it at home.
Oh man, I only caught a couple things on that, but yeah, I don't even know if I saw what you saw. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, and then we should mention that Jeff Rowe, who directed and co-wrote it, was co-director and co-writer on Mitchell's versus the Machines, which is a movie that we love. So just a lot of stacked talent on this movie that I think works really well, very endearing. And then, as Matt mentioned, just like this huge cast with Jackie Chan as the voice of Splinter, and Paul Rudd is that hysterical thing where they released the list of the cast, and that clearly was Seth Rogen calling his friends because he thought it'd be funny, and he was right to say, Paul Rudd, you're Mondo Gecko, Rose Byrne, you're Leatherhead, and John Cena, you are the next WWE star after Sheamus to play Rocksteady. All great stuff. Rose Byrne doing a stereotypical Australian accent. She is Australian, but doing an over-the-top Australian accent. Has Leatherhead, the alligator, made me laugh a lot. Really enjoyed this movie. There you go.
Yes, I enjoyed it too. took my kids to see it, and my daughter thought that the animation reminded her quite a bit of Paranorman. You ever see that movie?
No, I really want to see that movie. I always hear that movie's great, and
it's really good. And but yeah, she was talking about how like what you mentioned, like faces are just not symmetrical. Like there's like someone's they actually kind of look fucked up in a way, purposely by design. But yeah. That's what she thought it reminded me of. I should look up the credits on that movie and see if there was any sort of creative connection, but I doubt it. Okay, all right. Mutant Mayhem in theaters, Twisted Metal on Peacock. Let's get into The Exorcist. Exorcist 2 Heretic, by the way, for next week is a rent or buy situation.
Yeah.
So much like The Exorcist.
Warner Brothers to release these first two. Come on, guys.
But then 3.
Zaslav!
You'll have an easier time perhaps with 3.
Yeah.
Okay. The Exorcist. It reminds me of, what was that movie with Dudley Moore, Crazy People, where that they the truth in advertising premise, which is like, what if we just said what the thing did? And so there was that movie The Freak, and the tagline was, it'll fuck you up for life. So this was the real Freak. This movie too, by the way, we mentioned it at the top, but yeah, it was made for 12 million and it made 428 million. And this is 1973. So again, yes, adjusted for inflation, I feel like that's $2 billion. I didn't do the math.
This is like Avatar level hit. Yeah.
This is huge and massively controversial. Like, so controversial, not just with the church, not just with the Catholic Church, even though an argument can be made that this was a huge recruitment movie for the Catholic Church because it made people run to Jesus like crazy. But bans in cities wanted it banned. They wanted to ban kids, even though it was rated R. They wanted it to have an X rating. And if it didn't have an X rating, Boston, not just Hiddensburg, Mississippi, which I think is the kind of town we expect might have done this, but Boston wanted to ban it from kids seeing it. It's not East Cupcake, Illinois, or Lizard Lick, Kentucky, but and England had its own like bans going on for this movie. It was just outrageously controversial, and there's movies that kind of existed like this. Anything religious is going to stir up something. You may not know this, or you may not believe it when I say it, but Monty Python's The Life of Brian, which was sort of a take on Jesus Christ, but like told like, so what if someone else like had accidentally been called the apostle in a certain way, or sorry, the prophet, and hugely controversial. Like that they would make you make a horror movie with Jesus and religious stuff. You also can't make a comedy. You just can't do anything with it. Like, so anyway, this movie, but it also, I still think there are a majority of people would call this the greatest horror movie of all time. I know that it was sort of held that title in an uncompetitive field for a long while.
Yeah.
This movie is amazing. Now, I can't even imagine. I am coming at this as a non-religious person. This movie will hit you on a very different level. A, if you're religious. B, if you were raised religious and aren't even religious anymore.
Sure.
How much you actually believe in heaven and hell, God and the devil, demons and stuff like that is going to also affect how you watch this movie. Because this movie is so intense, it's so fucked up, and even the non-possession, demonic moments of this movie are meant to unsettle you. There's so much about this movie that is
like Reagan getting all the medical tests. Yeah.
Well, not even that, because at that point she's possessed.
I'm just saying, if she wasn't possessed, it would still be really uncomfortable medical stuff. Yeah.
I'm just saying, even the stuff in the beginning in Iraq, just walking down the street, the sound design of this movie, everything is meant to be really unnerving and
disorienting.
And then the first time we see Chris, it's the scratching in the attic and stuff like that. So there's never like a sweet time that gets interrupted. It's all meant to keep you on edge. And we talked a lot already about William Friedkin, but then we also had William Peter Blatty, who adapted his own screenplay and was very instrumental also in
adapted his
own book into a screenplay. Instrumental in casting and production, like had his own ideas about who he wanted to play. Like he and Friedkin actually worked hand in hand to get this movie to the screen. Like he was part of the creative process. It wasn't just like, I'm buying the rights to your book and I'm going to do what I want with it. So it was something that doesn't quite happen a lot, which is like the author really is kind of hands-on with the movie that's being made.
Although, again, even that background, it's always the thing of like who can get along with these big personalities.
Oh my goodness!
I'm not saying William Friedkin and Vin Diesel are the same, but we've talked about the people who can like get along with Vin Diesel. So it's funny because the whole story, the meet cute for Friedkin and Blatty being that Friedkin met with Blatty about making a Peter Gunn movie, which was a Blake Edwards TV show, and Blatty had written a screenplay for it. And that this was the first time they ever met. And Friedkin's like, this is terrible. This is an awful screenplay. But that Blatty was into it, Matt. He was like, he liked the honesty. And so they stayed.
They deserve each other. They deserve each other. This is also, and as you know, you listen to us do a prestige horror run on this podcast from the early 90s. This was a precursor to that. This was
absolutely
a director of just 2 years earlier, a picture that won Best Picture at the Oscars, doing a horror movie. And I mean, I don't know. An argument can be made like what happened in the early 90s. Did they elevate horror and did they do something new? I think in certain aspects they did. I think Silence of the Lambs obviously was a big thing. Interview with the Vampire, I think, also took vampires into a new direction. And this really did change horror as far as what horror had been for decades, and still kind of was after this movie, which is B movie, schlock movie, hammer horror, nothing played realistically or dramatically. And like, this was like, what if this is kind of like what superhero movies were for a while? What if this guy really existed in the real world? What if Batman was real? You know, like Christopher Nolan's take. That's what this was. And I really appreciate also how much this movie leaned into like that exorcisms weren't a thing. Like, hey, this don't exist anymore. Like we know about mental illness now. There is no demonic possession. Like, this is going to actually hurt your daughter more than anything, because we don't really, like, not to the last 30 minutes of this movie do we get into anything exorcism wise.
Right.
So it really is like everyone telling her that this can't be demonic. This has to be psychological or biological or something like that. Something's going on in her brain, or something's going on in a fractured psyche or something like that. And so it really does make you wait. It was Jaws before Jaws. It kind of makes you wait for it, right? Like,
oh yeah. But it's just all sort of gripping. And then after all the controversy, not only was it a monster massive hit, it got 10 Oscar nominations and won 2. Including, it didn't win, but it was nominated for Best Picture and Director. Blatty won for Screenplay. I think it won Sound Design. And so it was just like, it even with all the controversy, it was ultimately just such a across the board sensation, in every way. Of course, the controversy could only help it too. And you were talking earlier about like, the whole thing of like, can the new movie possibly like, deliver on, the kind of thing that this one did, which I do think is impossible. And it's funny because, when people watch old stuff, and I'm sure there's still going to be, I'm sure there are some people who are going to watch this movie for the first time, and they might laugh their whole way through, and, they're not going to like want to engage with it. But I will tell you something that it's like, look, when it gets down to it, like, when you have a 12-year-old girl doing what this girl is doing, just the crucifix masturbation scene alone, the bloody scene, that is still like fucked up and horrific. And no, I don't think a studio movie would dare do that anymore. And I'm not saying it has to be that. I'm just saying it's usually we say, oh, you can't match it because we've seen everything now, which is true to some extent. But I don't think this movie is like, oh, it's so dated, none of this works anymore. I think it definitely works still. And some of it is still like, holy shit, I can't believe they put that in a big studio movie. And that's why you're not going to see it happen again, because Blumhouse and Universal cannot do that in the year 2023,
so
which is a funny thing, right?
My fear about the new movie is that it's going to be fine. Like, that's my fear, is that it's
and
going
it probably will be. Yes.
I just want, because again, I'm not saying you can fill these shoes this big, but I want them to try. You know what I mean? I don't want them to just give us a middle of the road something or other. Anyway, that remains to be seen. It's also funny that for years, the schlock horror market, the B movie horror market, so much about horror advertising directly involved the fact that, like, You are going to need psychiatric care after you see this movie. You're going to have a heart attack watching this movie. This movie is going to make you crazy just seeing this. It's like a Lovecraftian thing. It's like you can't see the truth or it'll drive you mad or something like that. That was like the way they advertised horror movies for so long. It would be on the posters and the commercials and so on. This movie did that. This movie made people have seizures. This movie made people faint, to vomit. This movie made people have these extreme physical reactions that shitty horror movies had been promising forever. It just took it, doing it in a realistic, crazy way like this and grounding it for 90 minutes before hitting you with insanity, you know, like to do it. Yeah.
Of course, Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Let's see what you're gonna say.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it took a big studio. I don't know. It is crazy that a big studio did this movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I was just going to say that, you know, look, Warner Brothers certainly ended up, once the movie was a hit, they embraced it. And there's like a famous commercial that makes the rounds on Twitter every once in a while where they're like filming people at the National Theater in Westwood. Matt, we've seen movies there. It's now gone. Where they're like showing people like physically affected by this movie and like leaving and not being able to go back in because not because they didn't like it, but because it was like they just couldn't watch it. Like it was, you know, fucking with them so much. So it was a once in a lifetime thing, and that a bunch of other movies would then just sort of try to ape in their marketing, even if the movie itself in no way felt like
and let's not beat around the bush. A lot of this has to do with the fact that this is happening to what, 9 years old, 10-year-old girl. How old is Reagan supposed to be in this movie?
I don't know if they say wasn't Linda Blair like 11 or 12 when she did it? I think she was 12.
The fact that it's happening to this Reagan character, this young innocent girl, is a huge part of this too.
Yeah,
like it's not even an older woman. It's someone. It's like the fact that this performance, this monumental performance, is coming out of someone so young too, that makes it extra believable. Yeah, because again, you got a child actor. You could a lot of directors actually turn this movie down because they didn't think that someone that young could carry a movie and make it believable in this way. And so I think that was also led to the physical effects that this movie had on people, the psychological effects this movie had on people at the time, because it's just so taboo. It's such a taboo thing that's happening on screen that and she's so good. Again, if she sucked, it wouldn't have worked. It would have taken you out of it. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right,
absolutely.
Let's get into the actual movie itself and how it starts. So it starts with Max von Sydow, and he won't return till the end of the movie. And he has aged up for this role, interestingly enough. We know him in later movies as actually someone this actual age, like as an old man.
He's like, so convincingly aged up. He was like 45 and he's playing like 75. And, you know, it's very good makeup, and his performance, obviously, you know, is carrying himself as an older man. That I very distinctly remember being really confused, Matt, around the 90s when I realized, oh, that's the guy from The Exorcist. Why is he still alive? Like I literally had that happen because I was like so convinced this was a decrepit old man in 1973. He should still be with us.
And why is he still alive in Minority Report? Like
So kudos to both the makeup, you know, the legendary Dick Smith did the makeup on this. He was, you know, kind of the guy who like influenced and mentored Rick Baker and all these, you know, greats that would come after him, and his performance, you know, because it very much sells that he's an old man, and it is crazy that he was just like a dude in his mid-40s making this.
I really like the little things in this movie that don't get explained, because there's a lot of things you could read. There's a lot of theories you can have in this movie that a lot of people online talk about, like, when was Reagan possessed? Why was she possessed? Some people even think Burke Dennings may have been sexually assaulting her. That there was something secret going on there, because she has questions about him with her mom, and like, I heard that you like him, you know, but who's telling her that? Is it Captain Howdy? Is it Burke? Why was Burke in her room when he went out the window? All these. So again, the opening part with Iraq in this dig that Max von Sydow's character, what's his name? Marin is a part of, is he starts getting a lot of like omens. He sees like the Pazuzu statue. Does Pazuzu have his dick out, by the way?
I think it's a tail curled up in a phallic nature is specifically what we're seeing.
Oh, so he's being silly. Okay.
But I could be wrong. Could just be his curled up dick. But I thought it was like
because I thought it was his dick with a snake wrapped around it, which, by the way, metal.
I mean, no matter what, he's definitely being like, look at me. But
there's like clock stopping and dogs fighting and like things that just are really, he almost gets run over by a carriage. And it all sort of symbolizes that he's about to face this demon. But like, also, did he unleash this demon Pazuzu by pulling this little statue out?
Right.
Did he, and if it did it follow him back to the States? How did it get to DC? Like, there's all this stuff that you don't quite know, and it doesn't matter because the tapestry of this film is still so rich that like the unknown serves the movie well. We get to see so much is actually.
I was gonna say the questions are add to the movie. They don't make it frustrating.
Right. And so we don't really know who he is or what's going on. Like, I mean, they take like the druids.
They take they take a few minutes even to have a character call him father, because at first it's just like he's like an archaeologist, like he's like a dude in Iraq at this dig, and then finally, someone calls him father, and we realize he's a priest. But also the movie, the whole movie is shot and played hyper realistic. But even that sequence, sun drenched, with these guys, it's like it's such a different vibe than the rest of the movie in such an interesting way. Just this.
And like you mentioned, him playing old, and this is Chekhov's heart pills. We see his hands shaking as he's taking these pills, which we assume are for medical condition, and he needs them, and they help him live out his elderly days. Where I guess after this, he went back to Woodstock to write another book, as it's put later, when he's called into action as the Exorcist. But yeah, so this just kind of sets it up, and it's, we're left with more questions than answers, obviously, or answers really. At this
culminating in that awesome shot of Pazuzu statue and him literally facing off. It's not subtle, but it's great.
Yeah.
The good versus evil sort of showdown shot there.
And then we go to the Georgetown neighborhood of Washington, D.C., and I always thought this was interesting. Now, it's from the book, obviously, but that you never get a main character in a movie not about Hollywood that's an actor. It's interesting that this is the mother's profession in this movie. I don't know. I don't know if it doesn't add or take away. I just think it's actually an interesting thing. Now, it obviously means she has money, so she can have this townhome,
big staff,
she could have servants in the house. Reagan can ask things like,
Matt, I did have, the one question that did bother me at the end of the movie. What happened to Crash Course? The director died. The mother obviously was taking all this time with her daughter. So did Crash Course get finished?
I hope that they were only like a week into production and they weren't like almost finished with it, because that would have been terrible. Yeah.
Right. Crash Course like a famous will Exorcist Believer tell us what happened to Crash Course?
I was going to ask you if the Heretic tells us what happened with it, because I didn't see it.
Because Chris, she should be like, she was at least once a movie star. So maybe we'll get all our our questions answered.
She made that movie Angel that the cops saw 6 times.
That's right. So, that's right.
Which was, he's a cinephile. He likes going to see movies and talk about movies afterwards. He was looking for a movie buddy. And I know I briefly mentioned Jason Miller already, but this was his first movie. Some people were really famous for this movie and didn't go on to do much afterwards film-wise. I feel really bad for Linda Blair, especially as far as someone so young, someone mostly known for this movie who didn't like launch in any other kind of big way. Ellen Burstyn kept up with the Joneses, as it were, and did other things. And
she's a G away from an EGOT, because no Grammy, but she's won every acting award you can win. The major ones.
All she needs,
Emmy, Tony,
all she needs to do, she just needs to read a book on tape.
I know, that's how a lot of them do it.
Just read a book on tape, and she's got it. Right. You're 90. Just start reading.
Just start reading.
Start reading out loud. Pick up a book.
I don't care if someone's already read it. Just do it again.
Yeah, just do it again. The Burstyn version. So we get this.
Well, you were going to say about Jason. I was going to say that Jason Miller.
It's his first movie. This was, again, he was only doing theater at this time, and
but he's
theater
a theater
very well,
and he acclaimed, a playwright. So it's like, it is interesting because it did used to be weird to me that he didn't have like a bigger acting movie career, but I don't know if he ever sought that. He was confused when Friedkin came to talk to him. He thought he was going to talk to him about writing a screenplay because he was more known as a writer. And so, he did a few other acting, movie roles, but I think he was mostly, involved in the theater stuff that he did.
His play actually got adapted twice to TV after, his 1973 award-winning play.
Yeah.
And one he did, I think, direct. The second one was more recent. He had passed away. I think he died in like 2001 or 2003. So it was after that. But so anyway, talking about the actors in this movie, those are the ones I know. Who else, who plays Kinderman?
Is what's his face, is it Lee J. Cobb, who had a huge career. Like he won an Oscar for On the Waterfront. He'd been in a bunch of stuff, 12 Angry Men,
and he's really good in this movie. He lends a very different needed energy, where he comes in the middle of this movie to really help sell this death that we don't see and we only really quickly hear about. But then eventually, as the police investigation happens, we learn more of the details and he starts connecting the dots and stuff like that. So it really helps sell that scene, because at first it feels like there's something missing a little bit, and with the open window and the cold room and stuff like that. So he's really good. And I do like the fact that he's doing a Columbo a little bit in a scene where nobody wants a Columbo, like in a movie where no one has time for a meandering cop who just wants to speak his mind and talk about other things.
Right.
So, okay. We're learning about the life. And then again, the psychological things, the little psych drops that happen here, as far as where's the dad? We hear, the mom's freaking out on the phone. By the way, this is Chris absolutely going off on someone on the phone, and she's only been on the phone a hold for 20 minutes. 20 minutes, Eric. You know how long everyone nowadays is on hold when they're trying to get for things? They get passed back and forth.
Although to reach someone in her personal life, she just texted him today, so that is the difference.
Yes, she did have to be tethered to this phone because it's not a thing. But Reagan's listening to her freak out and flip out because the dad doesn't call her on her birthday and stuff like that. So there is familial and emotional tension that is there under the surface that's not being discussed by mom and daughter, but everything else is sort of really nice and copacetic. They have a good relationship. She wants to take her to a movie and celebrate her birthday, and they live this sort of privileged life of a very famous actress and her daughter, who just sort of follows her around on film sets and stuff like that. And it's an interesting stage to have, it's an interesting way to set the stage for what's about to happen. You could have set this anywhere. You could have set this with any profession. You could have set this with a mom and dad. You could have set this, it's just a very interesting dynamic. Because we said, there's servants too. There's people around to witness.
Yes.
And I think it works. And at the same time, we're sort of running parallel stories here. So
I have a question for you. Who would you call the protagonist of this movie?
That's very interesting. I would say it's Father Karras.
That's what I would say.
I would say it's Father Karras, because he's the one who sort of has to do the sacrifice. He's the one who has to, through his guilt of not saving his mother, save someone else. He's the one who gets the arc, right? Chris doesn't get an arc, really. Chris goes from
daughter. I'm trying to save my daughter from a fucking insane situation. But Karras, because before Karras even comes into Chris and Reagan's life, he's dealing with a lot. He has
a crisis of faith that's absolutely about to come crashing down over his head, where it's he's about to believe more than ever. He's going to believe the shit out of this thing.
And what a great character Karras is, because the priest who's also a psychiatrist, the church paid for him to go to and be trained as a psychiatrist, and getting that perspective. And also, I've got to believe, again, this movie came out before we were born, and I can't tell you everything about everything before, but I have to believe this was probably one of the first times, especially in something this popular, that a priest felt like a quote unquote real guy, not like at a arm's length, whether that be pious or whatever. But the fact that he is like, he goes to the bar, he gets drinks, he boxes, that it's like he's just this, and great performance. So it's like we get this like lived in feel for a priest in a way that still is unusual today.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's think of like how many movies do we have where a priest is the main character that's not a Christmas movie or something like that?
Right,
like,
right.
So, but yeah, we are watching parallel stories, but yeah, if I had to pick somebody who was the protagonist, it's Damian Karras.
I agree, yeah.
And there's some disjointedness with the time that getting a little confused with like what happened to his mom, why was she in the asylum, when did she go home, when did she die?
Right.
Like kind of weeks go by because he apparently left already, and then neighbors found her dead. But it feels like the next day again. So because we don't know how much time's going by. And at this point, Reagan's not fully going through the possession thing. So we don't know, like, we can't track time through her either. And the doctor visits and stuff like that.
Friedkin has a funny moment on the commentary where he says, he's like, I should have put a title screen here saying that his mom lived in New York, because he realized some people didn't understand that it's like he has to go to New York to see her.
I don't think I understood that. I thought he just went to a different area.
No, I mean, same here.
But
then he takes it back a second later and makes a crack about audiences being stupid. So, but for a second, he's like, "Oh, I probably should have been better, more clear that he has to like travel to see her."
And this is hard as somebody who just, my mom is in a facility, not a facility. That's clinical and weird. She's in a senior community,
right,
not assisted living, but yeah, this is somebody who they can't live by themselves. If you've got an old parent, unmarried, either because of divorce or because they're a widow or widower or something like that, it's very, very challenging. And so yeah, it gives Karras a lot to come into the movie with. Like, it already feels like there's a whole other movie that could just be about him and doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And the fact that the doctors are the ones that recommend the exorcism and the priest is the one being like, go to the doctor.
Yes.
It's very interesting back and forth. It's a tug of war that I really enjoy. And that exorcisms are archaic. And I don't know if a single priest who's done one, like, this is something and like also the steps to do it. Like the church has to sign off on it. To do that, they need to evidence, all this stuff, which when time is of the essence, it's hard to do it. And your heart just breaks throughout this movie as the transformation sets in, as far as like what Reagan becomes, her physical form, and all the scars on herself, and just her puke all over herself, and just like what she where we started, how it's going, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's also
an interesting thing I noted, and I don't think they're trying to make some huge statement. It's just like observational, kind of like what you were saying about the parallel of who's recommending what to who. But the fact that Karras is a priest, so he doesn't have any money, and so his mom ends up in this horrific place where his uncle kind of gives him shit about the fact that you could have been a rich psychiatrist, but instead you're a priest, so now your mom has to be here. Versus Chris, who has a lot of money, so she can get her daughter like the best specialists, but A, it's not effective, and B, it ends up being horrific in its own way because she has to be put through all these horrific tests.
Yeah, with like spinal taps and brain scans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's all awful. And again, like you said, even if it turned out it wasn't demon possession, just someone having to go through medical procedures of this kind is so horrific and draining. And there are elements of this movie that are just things are tough all over, no matter what. Even without demons, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Then we get man, I miss when everyone smoked. Just like,
it is funny.
Not just a priest smoking and drinking, but like it's always funny when a doctor smokes. It just is.
Because doesn't Chris like ask him if he has a cigarette?
Yeah,
because of course he would.
But like when the doctor's like, well, we think it's the frontal lobe or something like that. He's just puffing away on a cigarette.
Yeah. And we should mention, everyone's great in this movie. It's all like very natural performances, including multiple real priests. Father Tom, who he has drinks with at the bar, was a consultant on the movie. And Father Dyer, who's like his buddy, who is playing piano and is has a big scene at the end, was a real priest as well. Unfortunately, I looked up I was looking up everyone, and that guy had some horrific accusations against him right before he died a couple years ago.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Which is
now I don't feel bad that Friedkin slapped him before the scene at the end to get him to be intense. Yeah.
So trying to put that aside, he's great. He's and again, it's funny that he was a real priest and he's smoking and drinking, and like again that like these are real people living their lives and they're priests. And it's all feels like you're kind of seeing like an interesting kind of point of view that you're not used to seeing.
And then if we're talking like the hoi polloi, actually, I think I used that term wrong. Hoi polloi is common people. If we're talking about the upper crust or the people that Chris hangs out with, because she gets an invitation to the White House, she's hosting this party, and there's like an astronaut there. One thing, and this is something maybe a movie nowadays would do, which is like when the first sign of things kind of being wrong with Reagan that are like in your face obvious is when she comes and pisses on the floor and she says to the astronaut, "You're gonna die up there." I do want to know if he died up there. Like I want to know if it was actually sort of prophetic. Like a news report reports that
would be the post-credit scene today.
Yeah, now it would.
Oh no!
Where they meet space Lucifer.
Right.
But the telltales, there's a Ouija board, so people are like, was it the Ouija board that did it? But the rats were already whatever that scratching was.
All the weird noises were happening
was already from the start. And then the Captain Howdy character, which very different than Timmy, the little boy that lives in my mouth from The Shining, but like that sort of like really creepy imaginary character, something that stayed with supernatural horror movies for decades. It's just always their little ghost girl or whatever it is.
And people love, and Captain Howdy, Twisted Sister would name a song called Captain Howdy. Dee Snider would make a horror movie called Strangeland where he played a character named Captain Howdy, and Penn Jillette would form a band called Captain Howdy in the 90s. So the influence of that name in this movie.
And Bray Wyatt would create a Uncle Howdy character that is still TBD, I guess, because he's been off TV for about 6 months now. And but I think Bo Dallas, his real life brother, was playing Uncle Howdy on TV with the mask.
Suffice to say that name was not a coincidence.
I'm saying like he's a horror character, so it makes sense. Okay. Yeah. It sounds silly. It sounds like Howdy, but it's scary. But yeah, so the fact that she has a name for the thing that answers the Ouija board is a huge, it should sound several alarms. But the thing about horror movies is that the people don't know that they're in a horror movie. They think it's just real life. So, all right.
Yeah. I would, by the way, as an aside, I'd bet $1 million. Well, no, I wouldn't bet that. But I always felt like Captain Spaulding in House of a Thousand Corpses, like naming your creepy guy, that had to have been another Exorcist.
That could be it too, obviously. We didn't mention the fact that when Chris walks back from the film set one day, sees and overhears Father Karras at that point enough to ask about him later at the party.
Dyer,
Tubular Bells plays. So then we've got the first sort of like appearance from this famous Exorcist movie music.
Which I tweeted the other day after I was watching this. Tubular Bells is to The Exorcist, has the Ghostface mask is to Scream, which is to say it pre-existed. It was not made for this movie. It was on an album released a few months before this movie came out that no one had listened to. And then Friedkin liked it, put it in this movie, and it is now forever the Exorcist theme. So it was not written to be the Exorcist
It's on
theme.
every Spirit Halloween Store Halloween Spooky Noises CD that you can get. It's on every. I even think it was on like some. I don't know how recent this is, but the old compilation CD commercials we used to watch Freedom Rock, or the one that had like PM Dawn and Enya. I think also had Tubular Bells on it. I think it was, like whatever it was, like the Bliss CD mix or something like that.
It's funny because this movie has a very minimal score. A guy named Jack Nietzsche came in and did a little bit sort of ambient music, connective stuff, but it was mostly sort of found music from like Warner Brothers, including Tubular Bells. And it was funny reading that they talked to Bernard Herrmann, the famous composer, did a lot of Hitchcock, including Psycho, and he turned it down because he's like, you don't have a long opening credit sequence for me to do a cool. He didn't say cool, I'm sure, but to do like a big theme,
to make some tasty tracks. I can't like
to lay down that Herman track. Like
and he's like, you got the touch.
So Tubular Bells became the de facto, and
the soundtrack,
it's in the trailer for the new one, and it's in most of the trailers use it.
Yeah, the music for this movie is Tubular Bells and a little girl screaming about cocksucking, and that's that's the soundtrack.
There you go.
All right. And so the perfect person to find to I'm a little I'll ask you. When Father Karras shows up to talk to Chris, so Chris has been through the ringer. Obviously, Regan's gone through all these horrific, horrible things. She's fully possessed at this point. And then the whole thing where it escalates. Everything starts to escalate to her, like just from the bed shaking on its own to her actually being fully possessed with different voices, superhuman strength, vulgarity, different, emitting foul odors from her mouth, all this stuff, and self-mutilating, like hurting herself in all these various ways. Chris, she goes to one doctor, she goes to a psychiatrist, she goes to all these. By the end, she's talking to like a room of like 9 doctors, like a council. Eventually, through Dyer, she meets Karras. Now, when Karras shows up, he doesn't know anything about Regan. So I'm wondering why he's talking to her, like why they staged this meeting. Did Dyer just say, "Hey, my friend Chris wants to talk to you about a thing"?
Well, I because he assumes it's because of his psychiatric skills too. Like it's like this, someone's going through something.
I know. I just needed a thing because when she's like, "So he didn't tell you anything about my daughter?" He's like, "No." So it's kind of weird because all it would take was like, yeah, she tells me she's having some trouble, so maybe I can help. But he's like, no, you have a daughter. Like it's like
Dyer thought it'd be fun to just surprise him. And I want to mention, you mentioned how good Linda Blair is, like that scene where she like really where she's having the full like spasms and her eyes turn white and the growth in her neck and she's screaming "fuck me" and hits the doctor, and I was just like, Jesus, like. The physical, of course, as the movie goes on, they dubbed Linda Blair with this like other actresses creepy voice, but the physicality, we're talking about Samoa Joe, the physicality she's doing here, we're talking about like with the Evil Dead movies. It's like because she is like couple times there were things they didn't have her do, like the sexual in nature stuff and all, but you can tell it's mostly her like jumping around, kind of going crazy on this bed in just a really chilling, effective way. And I was like, damn, that is a lot that this kid is doing. Like this is
the horrific, like if just as a mother walking into a room and seeing your child, right, like being hurled about up and down on the bed in such a way. And I don't know if that was the scene or if it came later when she was levitating or something. I know something hurt Linda Blair on set, like her ribs or something, because of the violent nature she was being jerked around, which makes sense. And of course, big thing from this movie, the head spinning, which is something that went into other horror movies, into other spoofs, into parodies, and anyone in the 80s who was a stand-up comedian, it was just the thing to kind of talk about. The pea soup and the head spinning around was like some of the hallmarks of this movie of possession of, and you said Evil Dead way, like Evil Dead obviously very influenced demonic possession from this movie, as it influenced many films that followed. And so it's all terrible, and everything starts to really, because again, never is it not compelling. It's just everything comes together in the end with Karras, with Marin, the guy you saw at the beginning of the movie, who you didn't know if you'd ever even see again, I guess, like if you're watching this for the first time. And it all culminates into this exorcism, the name of the movie, and the great shot of him coming out of the cab in the fog and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's, again, parallel stories, and it takes a long time for Karras and Chris to actually meet. And when he does, it's not even the beginning of something, because he's skeptical. He's the skeptic, and she's the one who's the true believer. And
we should talk even about the, you mentioned that it's all great because, like you said, it's like the doctors recommend exorcism not because they think she's possessed, but because they're like, well, if she thinks she's possessed, like, this can hopefully, because we can't find anything physically wrong with her. So if this is a person who truly believes they're possessed, then you go through the ritual, because that will get them to stop acting possessed.
And it makes me think of Hannibal in a way. I know it's not the same mental disorder, but there were some, these rare psychological disorders, and a lot of them Hannibal brought up, but like people who think they have an alien in them or a demon in them, or they're convinced that they're not themselves. And there was an episode of Hannibal where there's a very specific disorder where someone thinks they're dead, right? And that was a big part of season 1. So it reminded me of that, where it's like they are still pulling on science and something that is very rare but could exist, and go through the show of an exorcism because it might help, even though Chris at this point obviously knows that it's a demon. It's something that's happened. We never find out why he chose Reagan. We never find out why he chose someone in Georgetown. We never find out why Pazuzu, but it's all tied to Marin or Karras, because there's even a line in there where it's like, we picked the girl so we could bring us closer, meaning us and you, Karras. And then when which again, going back to it kind of being his story, because that he's being tested here more than anyone. But then Marin is also a huge part of it, because when it's revealed that Reagan's speaking backwards after the Latin and stuff like that, they say Marin, fear the priest. Like fear the priest. And then I don't know, I guess you could spoil it for me. We learned that Father Marin almost died like years before with an exorcism that took months. Was that Pazuzu as well, or something different?
Let's just say they might have met before, Matt.
All right, let's just say that they're old frenemies. You know what I mean?
We've done this dance before.
So, which makes more sense. Like when he pulls the trinket out of the rocks in Iraq, like he's like, oh shit, this fucker again. And he's like, he's still there with his because we didn't even talk about the Virgin Mary statue that got Pazuzu being a silly again, with the tiggle bitties and the phallus coming out of the Virgin Mary. It's funny when Kinderman shows up, in his conversation with Karras is very interesting. It gives Karras more to do. It brings him into the story peripherally before he even meets Chris. And it's a whole thing where he thinks that it may be a priest doing it. Like, hey, are there any crazy priests around, because you're this priest counselor? It's one theory. But like Kinderman, in his own lackadaisical way, drops almost a huge bombshell on Chris when he's like, hey, we think Burke was thrown out of your window and that his neck was snapped before he went out the window. And she wasn't even thinking about that, Eric. So Kinderman's like, she's sitting with this information in her head while he's asking for an autograph, because when he leaves, she breaks down. And so when Karras is doing his tests and he's like, I don't know, the holy water was fake, blah, 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 blah. She's like, my daughter killed Burke. Like, this is something that she has had to now come to like realize on her own, thanks to the cop. And this is like, look, I can't just dance around this anymore. She's killed someone. She's a demon. She's violent. She's strong. And and because Karras comes with this sort of weighty story about his mother, it helps him start to believe like that an exorcism is needed. And then he's brought in as a junior exorcist. He's brought in as the guy who says a couple lines someday. He's like the Flavor Flav of the exorcism.
If he survives, yeah.
He's like, can't trust this. Yeah, so
he could have gone on to be a great exorcist protege. We should mention, with all the talk about this movie and its impact, that of course the fact that it has created to this day an entire subgenre of exorcism movies. We had the Pope's Exorcist earlier this year. So, there's, it's funny in this movie when it's like, have you heard of exorcism? Because of course, at the time, this was not movies, but exorcism specifically, this movie was going to be introducing to most people. And now it is such a staple, and it's impossible to do one without evoking this movie, because this is the movie that did not introduce exorcism into the world, but into movies, into horror movies, especially.
In a big way. I mean, the power of Christ compels you is a huge part too of this too.
Yes.
Even like, I don't know how much is like, text-based or like how actually factual it is, but like what they're doing, it seems like a very staunch ritual. Like he kisses his crucifix, he pulls out the holy water, he reads the Lord's Prayer, and then some. He's got other passages that he's reading, and he has to like stick to it. And then at some point he's very quiet, and then at another point he gets really louder and more violent and like starts screaming at her and stuff like that, all while Karras is for Father Merrin. This is just a Tuesday. For Karras, he's like, he's levitating, and it's bringing me out of my game here. Like he's not saying the words he needs to say because he's so fixated on like, oh, it's real. Okay. Like,
right.
And it's interesting too, because
it's funny when Karras says this S just got R.
And he looked at the camera and he said this mission and just got a little more impossible.
Yeah.
The movie, so the whole thing is this very long, extended, really intense exorcism scene before they take a breather. Like, hey, let's take 5, everyone. Smoke them if you got them. Just kidding, they all got them. They're all smoking.
There should have been a shot of Chris, Merrin, and Karras all sitting on the steps,
all just smoking around there. And Karras goes back in. Merrin goes to take his pills. Karras goes back in and starts getting too wrapped up. It makes it personal. Because he hears his mother's voice and he starts letting it get to him. So Merrin is like, get out of here. I'll do this on my own. Just kidding. I'm going to die. That's the other thing, is like, we assume it's a heart attack, but we don't know. I like those little touches.
But man, that shot of her casually just in the corner.
She's just sitting on the corner of the bed, right?
Right. So creepy. And yes, the idea of like, one way or the other, it's like she killed him, and that it was like he couldn't survive the experience, but did she do something directly, that we're left to wonder.
And so that's the thing. It's like, oh shit, now the guy who had a crisis of faith, the guy who isn't experienced in this, the guy who thought exorcism weren't even a real thing, he's got to finish this exorcism. But no, the movie only has 5 minutes left, so we're not going to do that. It ends abruptly, but it also is super satisfying. So it's not like it doesn't even feel like a cheat, which is like, he's not going to be able to do that. We have to come to terms with like, he can't do what Merrin did, so he's going to do what he's going to do, which is beat a little girl in the face.
Right.
Because he's a boxer, and be like, sacrifice himself, like, go into me, and like, is it what the demon wanted all along? We'll never know. We don't really know what the plot was here, other than
right. But then
demons love pranks,
but not just save her from being possessed, but then have enough like strength to have the power to kill himself before the demon can do anything in his body.
Oh yeah, like he fights it back Incredible Hulk style with the eyes and everything. He's like, no, I'm not gonna change yet. Like the last gasp he does is to leap out that window, take himself off the game board.
Right.
And so man, good stuff. That tumble down the stairs, all the blood at the bottom, the stairs itself has become sort of this very famous, just again, it's kind of like with so many sites now offering like movie prints from artists doing like their own interpretation of movie posters or scenes from movies and stuff like that, like Mondo and Bottleneck Gallery or Gray Matter Art, stuff like that. But like Halloween, the street in Haddonfield is so iconic that somebody just did the street, and it's a Halloween print.
Yeah.
So it's like you do the stairwell, this is the Georgetown stairwell, this is the Exorcist. There were just certain locations, even without the monster or anything, you just know because of the movie.
The poster to the third movie is George C. Scott looking down the stairs. Yeah. It's obviously a huge tourist destination. It got named a landmark with like a plaque with a ceremony with Friedkin and Blatty in 2015.
I wish they just put a Pazuzu Dick statue there.
As I've mentioned before, this movie has a very, very special place in the heart of my sister, Nina, who because good old Carol Goldman, who years later would take her then unborn son to see The Entity when he was about 7, brought her 7 or 8 year old daughter to see The Exorcist, and it like simultaneously like she loves and hates The Exorcist. She has this like very funny relationship with this movie where it really like rocked her core for her life to this day. And like she freaks her out. She loves it. It fucked her up as a kid. She got obsessed with it. But she's gone to the stairs. She and her husband went to the steps when they were.
I'd like to feel like that was a healing moment, like kind of like when Old Private Ryan visits Captain Miller's grave at the end of Saving Private Ryan.
Finally, full circle.
Tell me I've lived a good life.
I did get Linda Blair's autograph for her when I worked at Virgin Megastore, and she did a signing there, and I had her. But I got her. I actually had her sign 2 things for her. She signed the DVD, but also like a 8x10 of her as Reagan with the full makeup and the scars and the contacts. And my sister didn't want to look at the picture. she's like, thank you, but I want to look at that. But she will watch the movie. She just needs to pace herself.
Final things at the end. We talked about the Dyer scene. He's giving Father Karras last rites because
it's super touching. Like,
he's not dead. He's still clinging on a little bit, so he gives him last rites. And then we learn, several weeks later that Reagan doesn't remember anything of it. We assume that's what she says. We don't know, but she sees Dyer's collar and makes an association a little bit. Yeah, maybe with Father Karras. I don't know. She kisses him on the cheek.
No, yeah, I think it's definitely that. It's like, she doesn't remember, but then she knows she owes something.
It's almost it may even be an indication that she will start to slowly remember things if she sees something, because look, locked memories are unlocked through visuals and audio and smells and stuff like that. So you never know. I feel bad that she's in the sequel, because you do wish that poor Reagan is kind of done with this. Right. It's not the way horror movies work. They never are done, and they usually always come back, and they've never fully beat the demon, as Insidious, the Red Door continues.
I literally just watched that last night, which dealt with everything you're saying about the repressed memories and all that.
But then again, even if Reagan's not done and she gets I didn't see 2, so we'll find out. Even if she gets possessed again, or if somehow she's on the other side of it this time, we don't know. It was like that for Marin too. He was a final girl in his own way, right? Like, because he'd already done this battle before and it came back again. So it's man, those demons.
Demons, man.
Demons, they're in it for the bit.
Live the gimmick. And then there's also that stuff with Karras's necklace, which came off when he was struggling with Reagan.
The medallion, yeah.
Yes, and that Chris gives to Dyer at the end. And
Dyer's like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this? And he just shuts it.
It's funny. So you've never. It's so interesting. So I didn't know you had gone so long without seeing this movie. So you've never seen the director's cut.
No.
The most notable differences in the director's cut were the big selling point was the spider walk was put back in, which is this moment where Reagan like walks like backwards, like she's like on all fours, except she's backwards going down the stairs.
You could just say the Bray Wyatt walk.
The Bray Wyatt walk. It's creepy. There's a couple other little moments. There's some they did the fucking 2000 thing of like adding some new effects that are lame. Because there's that sort of very almost like what's the word I'm looking for? God damn it, when they hide things, Matt. What's the word? hidden
The hide
tracks.
what?
Subliminal. There's those.
Okay.
There's flashes. There's that face, that like creepy white face that you see. Like
Danhausen. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, he's a wrestler who probably bases his look off.
He does base it off that.
Yeah.
He does base it off the position.
They did this really lame thing where they put that face in digitally more places in the director's cut. But the big moment especially for William Peter Blatty.
He's like an extra in the movie. His Pazuzu is just there.
Right. A big moment that Blatty was so mad was cut and was so happy was put back in, but I don't think he was right, is the very, very end, which was the same ending, except it kept going, because after Dyer's by himself and looks down the stairs sadly, Kinnerman shows up, the cop shows up, and they just have like some friendly banter and Kinnerman does his whole like, do you like going to the movies bit? And Blatty felt this was like very important to kind of show that like they'll have this kinship too, and that it's like a light at the end of the tunnel thing that I don't think the movie needs, because I don't think the movie, the way it ends nihilistically or bleakly or like evil one. Like I think that everything with her kind of like knowing that she like the kissing him, and he's sad, of course, his friend has died, but I don't think it's like, oh, Pazuzu won. I think it's like, hey, there's this battle and it's an ongoing battle, but that there are good forces out there. So I don't think that extra scene is needed, but Blatty was like adamant, and Friedkin was like, okay, I'll put it back in. And then later on was like, I guess it's better with it, but I don't think he was right.
Oh man. Also, what a fair weather friend that Kinderman is, as far as like you just giving up on your movie buddy because he's dead. He got possessed and he died.
He's like, oh, new priest.
I will say this. The movie, like many movies, we just talked about this with Blue Thunder. They just didn't even have an extra scene at the end. How do you explain this as a cop? Like, what the fuck happened at the end of that movie? There's a dead priest here. There's a dead priest down there.
Yeah, what like, was
the girl looks abused?
Like, what was the solution to Burke's death? Yeah, and
the Kinderman shows up. Like, I'm just saying, what was the paperwork? Like, how did this get wrapped up? And I guess for me, seeing Kinderman there would just remind me, like, what did he tell the chief? Like, what's happening? Like, who did they sing the little girl threw him out the window again? Like, what's going on?
This little girl just keeps throwing people out her window. That's possible.
Yeah. So, it sounds like a scene I didn't need. For those wondering, Eric mentioned George C. Scott, Exorcist 3, which I did see. George C. Scott replaces Lee J. Cobb as Kinderman.
See, I was gonna keep that under wraps, Matt, but
no. I'm letting it out there. I'm letting it out. I want people to know that we're gonna see this character again.
All right.
He's a fan favorite. All the Kinderheads out there need to know. All the Kinderman version of a Swiftie is out.
He's more popular than Swift. But yeah, what a picture! What a picture!
Oh man, good stuff. I guess Jack McGowran, who played Burke Dennings, is also someone I don't know who she is, but whatever. And then
he the director.
Yeah, played Burke Dennings.
Yeah. Who died right after he finished filming his scenes.
Oh shit! Cursed movie set.
Well, there was talk of cursed movie set. There's also talk of like what a tough shoot, how long filming went on for. And there's the thing of like them saying, is it a cursed movie set or is it a movie that filmed so long that people died? Like, I think Von Sydow, maybe his brother or someone close to him died, and a bunch of, but they're like, hey, if you film a movie for a month, that might not happen. But if you film it for most of a year, stuff happens in our lives.
Man, that's how long it took to film this. That's crazy.
I think that might have been an exaggeration, but I think it took a long time. It was a long shoot. Like, they're saying like,
because Friedkin's going around shooting off guns and smacking people in the face and like, and firing people on a whim, being crazy. Yeah.
Well, they said, because I even saw some people, again, this week, everyone's been tweeting about the movie and Friedkin. And so someone was talking about how, that the famous shot that became the poster of Marin Von Sydow getting out of the taxi, it took 2 days to light that, which made some people go, people work on productions go, oh my God, imagine working on a movie where they'd give you 2 days to get the perfect shot, because schedules are now like, shorter. and they have to do, a lot.
Because everyone has a release date that they have to hit. I'm sure this didn't have like a complete release date, like announced 2 years ahead of time that they have to hit.
Although this movie did come out the day after Christmas, they should have just released it on Christmas. These days, a lot of big movies do release on Christmas Day. This came out December 26th.
People don't realize a horror movie community, even when it goes way broad like this, it's such an untapped thing. Everyone's like, there's an argument to be made as far as like Haunted Mansion shouldn't have been released in July, but it's also not a horror movie. It's not. It's a family. Spooky.
Its audience is a family.
It's a family spooky. But like, you can release a horror movie. You should be able to release, if it's an actual horror movie, anytime, and it will do well. And I think there's even more. There's sort of a gallows humor of releasing it during the holidays. Releasing it October through December, including Christmas, I think, is always a good bet. I think it's fun.
Hey,
and I think, yeah. So, but yeah, it's funny because traditionally, Christmas time, the holiday break, has been a huge movie time. People see movies on Christmas is a big thing. So it is a shame that it didn't release on December 25th itself. That would have been
fun. And of course, this was an era, pre-VHS, where a movie this successful, which there weren't many movies this successful, and this is 2 years before Jaws.
Until Jaws comes out, yeah. So.
Yeah. But this movie basically never left theaters for 2 years. I actually texted my sister and asked her, she didn't remember, but she says she thinks she probably saw it on the earlier side than her mom probably took her like early 74 to see The Exorcist versus like it's still playing in theaters in early 75. But yeah.
Because this a movie that comes along and just changes things. Like you've got people like, you got to see this movie, and people taking their friends to see it after and all that stuff. Provided that these people didn't like vomit and pass out, they're probably being like, I gotta take everyone I know to see this movie. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's just, it is funny. Like there's such an ebb and flow also with like, as we were talking about with content and, what people are, right now we live in a crazy time of like reactionary stuff and people pushing back on things we thought that were now accepted, and in all walks of life. But even with like content and stuff, I'm like, like if this movie came out today, God, and that scene happened, man, oh my God.
Pushing her fucking
mom's
pulling her
face
mom's
into
face.
her bloody crotch. Like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. But it's like we just accept, hey, that's part of The Exorcist, the classic movie, The Exorcist. So it does go to show you that sometimes they don't make them like they used to. Because we're gonna go through the rest of the Exorcist movies, and none of them are gonna quite be like this one.
I don't know, I just want to walk out of the new Exorcist movie being like, that was fucked up. Like, again, it doesn't have to have a scene that mirrors the fucked up elements of the original.
No, but in a different, its own way. Yeah.
Whatever the new version of that is, that will make me wildly scared and uncomfortable. That's what I want.
You wanna have convulsing.
I want to feel that. Yeah, this happened before we were born. We didn't get to experience this.
Right? Make us feel it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
make me die.
Excellent work to the late William Friedkin. After all the hell he put everyone through making.
Yes, after being just bringing everyone to Monster Island for a year,
right,
tormenting them. All right, that was The Exorcist. Next week is The Exorcist 2: The Heretic, directed by John Boorman, who we'll talk a little bit about, who was actually offered this movie too, by the way.
Yep.
One of the people who turned it down. What a mistake. But again, it's always one of those things where it's like, actors especially get this. It's like, I missed this opportunity, or I turned this project down and it was a huge hit.
Right.
Or I was like, oh, what a boner. You know what I mean? Like, what a mistake. You could have had a huge franchise, millions of dollars. But again, we're always just assuming that things would play out the same way. Like John Boorman would not have made the same movie, right? Like all these other directors, I'm not saying they would have made a bad movie, but to become a phenomenon, they would have not had this again. And an actor wouldn't have played the role the same way. And so many different things could have happened. It wasn't just going to be a guaranteed blockbuster if someone else played the role.
I'll mention before we end that on the casting note that Friedkin does talk about how the studio did have concerns that there were no big stars in this movie.
It's horror. Did he say it's horror? And that wasn't such a standard back then.
No.
Like horror doesn't need stars, but yeah, like
they didn't want Ellen Burstyn because she wasn't a big star like some of the other people they were talking to. Shirley MacLaine, I know they wanted early on, and some other people. And then a big one, because they'd actually cast him, and I think they bought out his contract, was Stacy Keach was going to play Karis. And then Friedkin met Jason Miller, and a funny thing was that Jason Miller almost became a priest and was like, "Oh yeah, this is me. I am like every." There was a lot of things that paralleled, and he decided like he has to play this part, not the actual star that we'd cast. So yeah, obviously Reagan was always going to probably be an unknown, although it was funny reading about people like I was thinking about the ages, and I actually thought about Jamie Lee Curtis, and then I read that Janet Leigh wouldn't let her go out for this movie because again, it's going to be controversial. Like there's going to be people, a lot of parents understandably are not going to be rushing to have their kid do this part. So
well, Jamie Lee Curtis would turn out okay in the horror community.
Oh no, right? Things that's why I thought about it, because I saw that they're born, Linda Blair and her, like 3 months apart, and I was like, oh, that's funny. And I was like, yeah, everything worked out just the way it was supposed to.
Just a year after this, Burstyn would work with Scorsese too, so on Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Yep.
And we never mentioned him. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of his movies, but Peter Bogdanovich was like a big name at this time too, one of the new Hollywood. Yes. One of that pack, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when we get to the fourth movie, the two versions of the fourth movie, the fact that Paul Schrader made one of them, the one that they didn't want to release, who was obviously more of on the writing side, but was also part of this sort of this whole era, which is probably why they wanted him to do an Exorcist movie. So
all right,
there you go.
Until next time, everything is possible, but nothing is real, and exorcisms aren't real either, right? Like
what?
And Shockma.